Trevor Lawrence is not who you think he is. When he finished the 2018 season in spectacular undefeated fashion, beating the Alabama dynasty in the national championship, he was anointed the next great quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. It was all but a foregone conclusion that he'd be the #1 overall pick whenever he declared for the NFL draft, and that we were basically watching the second coming of the Messiah. But then, 2019 happened. Lawrence struggled mightily through his first 7 games. On passes from within the pocket, not including screens, he completed 48% of his passes for 929 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Mind you, this wasn't against the Auburns or Ohio States of the world, but instead the Charlottes and Georgia Techs. Lawrence still finished the year with a 66 completion rate, 3,600 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 8 picks, and Clemson still went undefeated until they fell to LSU in the Natty. But Lawrence showed major flaws as a passer that we hadn't really seen before. So where's the beef? Is Trevor Lawrence the next great quarterback prospect, or is he an overhyped work in progress? The answer is a combination of the two. He has several elite traits that make him pop off the screen. He's the ideal 6'6", 220 pounds. He has surprising speed, last year rushing for 960 yards and 9 touchdowns, and his ability to extend the play with that speed, then make awkward off-platform throws on the run creates some truly jaw-dropping moments. He has stellar mechanics, a fluid throwing motion, and when he's in rhythm and makes the proper read, it's one of the cleanest, prettiest sights you'll see. Some scouts and coaches believe if a guy can make a great play once, they can coach him to do it again and again. If that's the case, Lawrence could be the best we've ever seen. Take this play as an example against Texas A&M early in the season. Clemson is running a play-action 3 vertical concept with 2 of them to the field and the #1 on a mandatory outside release. The defense starts with a 2-eye safety look with one of them sitting in the dead middle of the field. What he does is critical to the success of Clemson's concept and how Lawrence will read the play. If it's cover 3 zone where he stays in the middle of the field and the other safety spins into the box, this vertical concept would be dead in the water. But if this safety stays in the deep half, that tells Lawrence this safety is rotating to the opposite deep half in a cover 2 zone, which would put him in conflict against 2 deep receivers. As the play starts, the safety does rotate over to play cover 2, and to guard against the now vacated area, A&M is playing Tampa 2 zone, which drops an underneath linebacker into the deep middle hole. Oftentimes against cover 2, offenses will have a built-in option for this receiver to attack that open hole, so the linebacker can at least hopefully provide some sort of support to the safety. Now, he doesn't have to totally split the 2 verticals, but should shade to the sideline. There are gaping holes against cover 2 zone to the left and right of the safety, so Lawrence has a good shot to hit a big play, but he has to be wary of how each defender is leveraged. This corner could actually carry the vertical up the sideline since he has no immediate threat underneath, and since this safety knows he has middle of the field help and is already running to the sideline at the snap, he could just keep running and intercept the hole shot. This is exactly the pen drop, pack it up, we're done type of arm talent that Lawrence possesses, showing just how insanely good he can be. From the opposite hash, he has to throw this ball hard enough to beat the rotating safety, but soft enough to loft over the corner who could be sinking back with the vertical. It's perfectly on time, it's perfectly placed, and somewhere out there, Dave Caldwell just fainted. So we can see the obvious allure with Lawrence, and watching Clemson, you will without a doubt see a throw this absurd every week. But when we dive into the nitty-gritty of the film and study every play, that's where some real issues start to show up. Surprisingly, he struggled with routine passes in the quick game, his ball placement was inconsistent, he failed to anticipate throwing windows, he ran from clean pockets when his first read was covered, or just locked onto that first read and stared him down until he was or wasn't open. In the semifinals against Ohio State, we're early in the first quarter and on 1st and 10, Clemson once again has an all verticals concept and Ohio State matches with kind of an ambiguous look pre-snap. As we've discussed on this channel before, anytime a safety is capping a cornerback, it's pretty damn likely that corner is blitzing. When Lawrence gives a hard count, Ohio State starts to jump into their rotation, confirming the corner blitz, and based on that rotation, what's likely cover 3 zone. Lawrence acknowledges the right side pressure, and knows that the safety will rotate down to replace the blitzing corner, which exposes the seam in cover 3 zone, which is the go-to #1 weakness in the coverage. Lawrence just has to wait for his receiver to clear the second level and fit the pass in, but instead he stares down his target, brutally telegraphing his pass. It's odd that he missed the linebacker hanging in the window since he knows defenses replace areas they're blitzing from, and appeared to pick up everything Ohio State was doing pre-snap. He points out the slot pressure from the right, then sees the linebacker who's starting to drop into the middle third. Then post-snap confirms that he is in fact making that rotation. Linebackers don't normally play a deep third due to their speed, so when he sprints to rotate backwards to gain depth, there's really no way he can turn around and drive on a seam ball. Lawrence just has to beat this linebacker who he's staring right at, but for whatever reason, he tries to drive the ball right through him. It's 1st and 10, not 3rd and long. He has a clean pocket to throw from. There is zero reason to try and squeeze this ball in, and if Lawrence legitimately just did not see this linebacker, well, that's a serious problem. He can struggle anticipating the holes in a defense's coverage and throwing to receivers before they come out of their break. In college, you can usually wait to see your receiver come open, but in the NFL, your receivers are always covered. You need to see the open space ahead of your receiver and throw before he gets there. In the championship game, more NFL caliber throws were required to beat LSU's stacked defense, but Lawrence couldn't deliver. Clemson's coaching staff did a fantastic job manipulating the coverage rules of LSU's defense, but several of those plays went to waste. LSU is running a cover 7 man-match quarters coverage, which is basically a blend of man and zone. It's similar to 4 deep quarters, but with man coverage principles where the defenders will match routes based on how they distribute. It's kind of similar to an in and out coverage where this guy takes the out and this guy takes the in. Well, Clemson understands these rules and knows when the receivers get to a certain depth, it triggers man coverage. They're running a post deep out combination, and as long as this safety isn't rotating to the middle of the field, and he wouldn't in quarters, Lawrence has the post route with nobody capping him over the top. We'll check the end zone shot in a second for a better angle, but he's looking right at the safety who he sees running to the boundary. The post is covered, but the defender is leveraged outside the receiver and there is all this space to win. If Lawrence throws with anticipation, this is a 60-yard touchdown, but he comes off it too early, scrambles from a clean pocket, and throws incomplete. Check out the pressure LSU brought on this play to make him break the clean pocket. They bring slot pressure, so to him it looks like a blitz, but they only rush 4. This is called a creeper or simulated pressure, where the QB thinks they're blitzing with 5 or more since he sees the extra defender coming, but the defense still has the benefit of dropping the typical 7 into coverage. It's designed to simulate pressure for the quarterback. This was a type of pressure that Lawrence struggled with all season long that caused him to scramble from clean pockets too early. He starts to his left to check the coverage where he should be confirming the defenders are now one-on-one, then comes back to see the backside safety rotating away from the middle of the field. This is where he feels that extra defender coming, but look at the pocket space that he has. There's plenty of room and time to let the routes develop. He can hitch up and throw the deep post with anticipation, but he gets spooked, starts sliding out of the pocket, and instead attempts a super difficult throw. You might say, well, that's just one play. If he got another chance, he'd rip the post. But when we look a few quarters later, when Clemson was losing 42-25 with 11 minutes left and in dire need of an explosive play, they did run the exact same call, and LSU even ran the same exact coverage. Here's the creeper pressure with, by the way, the safety again capping the blitzer, the same man-match quarters look at the top with the backside safety way away from the middle of the field, and Clemson once again has their post deep out concept. The post is covered tightly just like last time, but look at all this open space Lawrence has to anticipate. He has the arm strength to throw a laser up the middle of the field and get Clemson back in the game, but instead he tries to scramble and takes a sack. These creeper blitzes sped up his internal clock all season and created bad habits in the pocket. He starts his progression to the right to see that safety turn his back to the middle of the field, but also picks up the defender blitzing. He turns towards the middle where the post is about to come open, and despite getting pressure up the middle, there's still room to step up into the pocket. Clemson's already ran this exact play earlier in the game, and against the same coverage, Lawrence should have maneuvered the pocket for just a split second longer to anticipate the post he should have known would come open. When coaches call a play a second time in a game, it's because they saw something in the defense they're trying to exploit. but Lawrence couldn't capitalize. Good quarterbacks can identify the weakness in any coverage and attack it. Against North Carolina, Clemson is running their sky concept with this diagram from their official playbook. We see a hitch from number 1, the on-the-ball receiver runs a go, and their most inside receiver, tight end JC Chalk, has a seam read route that can change to a post if the middle of the field is open. North Carolina is in fact playing a middle of the field open look. They're playing Tampa 2 zone invert similar to our first play. The go route holds the safety, so Lawrence gets Chalk matched one-on-one with the linebacker and nobody close to capping the middle hole. Based on the inside leverage of the backer, Lawrence should either loft the ball over Chalk's head for him to run under or throw it back shoulder away from the defender. But instead he fires it to where Chalk has to run across the defender's face and the pass falls incomplete. North Carolina sends a creeper blitz on this play as well, with their 3-down D-line and other linebacker rushing. At the snap, Lawrence immediately sees the middle of the field open and Chalk one-on-one. He has a clean pocket and has time to process where and when to throw, but he takes 2 uncomfortable hitches and pulls the ball away from his target. If you're thinking, yeah, but just give him that throwback one more time and it's money, well, both Clemson and North Carolina obliged. Just 2 plays later, Clemson dresses up their sky concept a bit with a little wrinkle. Instead of a hitch from 1, they switch release 1 and 2, which takes the safety way out of the play and matches Chalk on the same linebacker in UNC's regular cover 2 zone. It's not Tampa 2, so the linebacker's not even covering the deep hole. Lawrence sees the safety sprinting to the sideline, but instead of throwing to Chalk, who's open on the same look, he for some reason attempts the more dangerous throw back towards the safety and completely misses both open targets. I would be much more concerned about his NFL prospects if he was drafted a few months ago, but Trevor has time on his side. Playing his 3rd college season in 2020 gives him the opportunity to develop, gain experience, and correct several of these flaws. But those flaws are there and they are very real. NFL front offices should look at his struggles with processing coverage, pocket presence, and anticipation just as much as his elite arm talent, size, speed, and extend the playability. I have no doubt he will play well this season against the ACC and the rest of these college defenses, but what I hope to see is his progression and improvement in some of the areas he needs to work on. I don't care how great his stats will be or how many touchdowns he'll throw, but how he can become a better, more developed NFL-ready talent at the quarterback position. I believe he can do it. He has so much ability in so many areas. He can take the next step and elevate his game to be worthy of the number 1 overall pick. Heading into what is most likely his final year at Clemson, all I ask is for the real Trevor Lawrence to please stand up.